All right, so today we're taking a deep dive into SKYWARN. But the really cool twist, we've got Denny from Radio on the Rocks Cafecast, and he's come up with this clever SKYWARN plan using an app called LinkPoon.
Yeah, and what I find really fascinating is how Denny is kind of like merging traditional ham radio with this new tech to make Skywarn more accessible, which is really at its core about community involvement in weather spotting. And ultimately, it's about keeping people safe.
That's it, yeah. For those who might not be familiar with SKYWARN, it's basically a network of volunteers trained by the National Weather Service
Right.
to report severe weather. So they're the eyes and ears on the ground, giving those real-time reports that help the NWS issue those really important warnings.
Think of it this way. A well-timed report from a Skywarn spotter could actually mean the difference between someone taking shelter or being caught completely off guard by a dangerous storm.
Right, exactly. So that's where LinkFoon comes in, which is, it's basically like a virtual ham radio. And Denisha has figured out a way to use it for SkyWarn, which is super cool because it opens up participation to anyone, even if you don't have, traditional radio equipment.
Yeah, it really is a great example of how technology can break down barriers.
Right.
With LinkPoon, you can turn your phone or your tablet into a communication device and connect with people across the globe.
Okay, so let's get down to like the nuts and bolts of Denny J's plan. It's actually surprisingly simple. He's found a way to use LinkPoon to create like a nationwide network for SkyWarn, as well as separate channels for each state.
And this is where I think his system gets particularly ingenious. He's using very specific frequencies and codes within the app that make it super easy to connect with other spotters in your area. So you're not, sifting through tons of chatter that's not relevant to you.
Right, it's like cutting through the noise. Okay,
Mhm.
so he has this base frequency. It's 759,976, which if you look at it on a keypad spells SKYWRN. Yeah, pretty clever, right? And then to get into your state-specific channel, you just add a two-digit code to the end of that. So like if you're in Arkansas, you'd add 04.
It's brilliant because you're automatically tuned into the most relevant information.
Right.
You're only hearing from people in your state, experiencing the same weather systems as you are. And so it really streamlines the communication and makes everything much more efficient.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, but before we get too deep into those details,
Yeah.
I think we need to kind of zoom out for a sec and appreciate the bigger picture. You mentioned ham radio's history with SkyWarn earlier.
Oh, absolutely. Ham radio operators have been, the backbone of Skywarn for decades,
Yeah.
providing these crucial reports from areas where other communication might be down. So what Denny has done is like build upon that legacy, but made it accessible to anyone with a smartphone. So it's kind of like taking that community spirit and
Yeah.
amplifying it.
Yeah. It's like crowdsourcing safety, but with a hyper-local focus. And it makes you realize that even if you're not a tech whiz or a trained meteorologist, you can still play a vital role in keeping your community safe.
Yeah, it's a very empowering concept.
Yeah.
And it really does speak to the power of community engagement, I think.
Okay, so let's get back into the specifics of how this works. Denny J has this system for usernames in the LinkPoon app that I think is super smart that helps you quickly identify where other spotters are located.
Yeah, he's got it set up so your username includes your state and county, so you can instantly see who's reporting from nearby. So it's all about that situational awareness.
Right.
All right, so you've got the app, you've set up your username, and you're ready to start spotting. What's the next step?
Well, this is where those state-specific channels really come into play. So you enter that base frequency we talked about, the 759,976, and then you add your state's unique two-digit code. And Denny J has put together a full list of those codes, which we'll make sure you have access to. Well, that's awesome. And again, this is key, right? Because it means you're only hearing from people in your area.
Yeah.
So you're cutting through the clutter, getting the info you need fast. But I'm curious, what about people who are already, familiar with SkyWarn and ham radio? What's in it for them?
Well, think about it this way. This app is adding a whole new layer of communication and coordination.
Right.
It's like having a real-time network of spotters at your fingertips. So you can share observations, coordinate reports. You can even see where other spotters are located thanks to the app's map feature.
Hold on, the map feature, that sounds incredible. Tell me more.
It really is. So you can actually see clusters of spotters around a developing storm, which means you get more coordinated observations and potentially even faster response times.
Right.
Imagine being able to actually see a storm unfolding on your phone with real-time updates from people who are right there on the ground.
That's amazing. So basically, Danish has figured out how to turn everyone's smartphone into a mini weather station, all working together to keep their community safe. I absolutely love it. But I'm curious, like, what do you think the real-world impact of something like this could be?
Well, I think it has the potential to revolutionize the way we approach severe weather preparedness and response. Imagine a scenario where, let's say, a line of severe thunderstorms is moving across a state. With this app, emergency managers would have, a real-time view of the storm's path, its intensity, the impacts it's having, all thanks to reports coming in from those spotters using LinkPoon.
It's like having eyes and ears everywhere. It
Exactly.
could be a total game changer for, directing resources,
Yeah.
issuing timely warnings, making
Yeah.
sure everyone is safe. But,
We need to unpack exactly how these state-specific channels work
right.
and dive a little deeper into Denny J's system.
You're absolutely right, yeah. We've laid the groundwork, but there's a lot more to explore.
So we've talked about these state channels. Let's break those down a little bit further. They're really kind of the heart of Denny J's plan.
Okay, yeah, so we've got the base frequency, 759976, like our SKYWARN home base.
Exactly. And then to get to your state's channel, you just tack on those 2 digits we were talking about.
So for Arkansas, it would be 75997604.
Right.
You got it. Each state has its own unique code. So everyone in, say, California would be on 759-97605.
This is genius. It means you're only hearing reports from your area, cutting through all that clutter, getting the info you need fast.
And that speed can be so critical during severe weather.
Especially when you're in a situation where, seconds count.
Precisely. Now, Denny was smart about this. These state channels aren't meant to replace communicating with the National Weather Service.
So it's not like going rogue or anything.
Oh, no.
It's more like adding another layer of communication.
Exactly. It's about that local coordination among spotters, sharing real-time observations, and, maybe even catching something that hasn't been reported officially yet.
Like, hey, I'm seeing some rotation in the clouds over here.
Right.
And suddenly everyone in that state channel is on alert.
That's a great example. It's about creating this more informed and connected network
Yeah.
of spotters.
And this ties into something that I think is really important. Denny emphasizes that these state channels are about working with the NWS, not instead of them.
Right. Supporting their efforts, providing as much ground truth as possible.
Which brings us back to the map feature. I'm still kind of geeking out about this, to be honest. To be able to see where other spotters are in real time, it's kind of mind-blowing.
This map feature really does take things to a whole new level. Imagine a tornado warning is issued. You can see if there are other spotters in the path of the storm who might be able to confirm a touchdown.
Oh, wow. So instead of just relying on radar data or someone happening to call it in, you've got a network of eyes on the ground, confirming what's happening.
That's the idea, adding that human verification to the equation, which can be so valuable for those emergency managers who are making, really critical decisions.
That's incredible. So it's not just about individual spotters doing their thing. It's about creating this comprehensive, dynamic picture of the situation.
Yeah, and that's where the real power lies, in that collective intelligence of the network.
This makes me think back to that point about ham radio's role in SKYWARN.
Mm-hmm.
This app seems like kind of a natural evolution, right?
Absolutely. It builds on that legacy of community service, but makes it even more accessible.
It's like, back in the day, you needed all this specialized equipment and knowledge to be a ham radio operator.
Yeah.
But now, with a smartphone and Denny J's plan, anyone can contribute.
Exactly.
It's like democratizing weather spotting,
It is.
which honestly is pretty cool when you think about the impact it could have.
It is. It's about recognizing that everyone has a role to play in keeping their community safe.
Okay, so we've talked about the state channels, the map feature, the connection to ham radio. What haven't we touched on yet?
Well, there's the practical side of actually using the app. Denny recommends some specific settings and kind of etiquette, I guess you could say, to ensure clear communication.
Ah, right, because even with a great plan, you still need to know how to use the tools effectively.
Exactly. So let's dive into that next. There are some really helpful tips that I think can make all the difference in making this system work smoothly.
All right, so we've talked about the big picture stuff,
Yeah.
but what about actually using the app? What are some tips for doing that effectively?
Keep your transmissions short and sweet, to the point.
Okay, so no rambling weather reports?
Right. Stick to the essentials. Location, type of severe weather you're seeing, intensity, and direction of movement.
Got it. So everyone's getting the need-to-know information quickly and clearly.
Exactly. And it leaves space for others to share their observations too.
It sounds a lot like the etiquette you would use on traditional ham radio.
You're right. It's about being respectful of that shared space
Hmm.
and making sure everyone has a chance to contribute.
And I imagine clear communication is even more important when you're dealing with something that's changing so quickly, like a severe thunderstorm.
Absolutely. When seconds count, every word matters.
Concise reports. What else? What other, like, pro tips did he have for us?
Well, he also stresses the importance of, knowing your location.
Oh, of course, yeah. That seems pretty basic for weather spotting.
You'd be surprised how many people forget to mention their exact location when they're reporting.
Yeah, and without that, the information's pretty much useless.
Right.
All about painting a clear picture of what's happening on the ground.
Exactly. The more accurate and detailed the information is, the better equipped everyone will be to respond.
So it's not just about having the tech, it's about using it in a way that, that really makes an impact.
Absolutely. It's a key takeaway. Denny J's plan is fantastic, but it's only as good as the people using it.
Right. It's a good reminder that technology is just a tool,
Yeah.
and it's up to us to use it responsibly and effectively.
Well said. And that brings us back to, the human element of all of this.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about the frequencies and apps and all that, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's people who make SKYWARN work.
It is. It's the volunteers who are dedicating their time and energy to keep their communities safe.
The folks who are willing to, be out there in the storms, reporting what they see.
And Denny J's plan is really a way to empower those people and make it easier for them to connect, share information.
It's about building a more resilient, weather-ready society, one smartphone at a time.
I love that. Yeah, it's about recognizing that we all have a role to play in this, keeping each other safe.
And that even something as, seemingly simple as downloading an app and learning a couple codes can make a difference.
Absolutely. Denny J's plan is a great example of how technology can be used for good.
It's inspiring, honestly. It gives me hope for the future of, weather preparedness.
Me too. It shows what's possible when people come together with a common purpose.
Well, I think we've covered pretty much everything there is to know about Denny J's Lingpoon SKYWARN plan. It's been a really fascinating deep dive. And I hope our listeners are, as excited about the possibilities as we are.
I couldn't agree more. It's really a testament to innovation, community, and that human spirit.
And hey, remember, even if you're not, a tech expert or a seasoned weather spotter, you can still play a part in keeping your community safe.
Absolutely. Learn about severe weather safety, consider getting involved with SKYWARN, and just, explore the ways you can contribute to building a more resilient world.
And as always, we want to hear from you. Share your thoughts, your insights, your experiences. Let's keep this conversation going.
Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and stay safe.